1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody's talking about bagging and tagging and swagging and mad and ragging and tagging and this is and that and
And we're going to, I'm sorry, we had a false start there. This is CPRmetro.org, Community Progressive Radio for the Metropolitan New York area and the world. We are inside, just beginning part 3 of our commemoration of the events of February 13th, 2003, the largest demonstration in the history of the world when people in over 800 cities around the world protested against the war that was then pending on Iraq by the United States.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody's talking about bagging and tagging and swagging and mad and ragging and tagging and this is and that and all we are saying is give peace a chance. That's all we're saying. All we are saying.
course, was the Plastic Ono Band, Give Peace a Chance, written for another war, but also for all wars. And that included the war on Iraq that was in process on February 15th, 2003. To recap so far, we have heard the proceedings that took place in October in the House of Representatives and the Senate as they deliberated on and spoke about the war authorization that was given to George Bush to declare war on Iraq. And we've heard the first response, or a portion of the first response that took place by the anti-war movement, which was when the first protest was held in Washington, D.C., on the 26th day of October. The war resolution passed the House on the 10th and the Senate on the 11th of October. And shortly thereafter, the people organized and came together. So we're going to return now to the anti-war rally that took place. It looks like it's Lafayette Park across the street from the White House in Washington, D.C. on the 26th day of October 2002. This is Peta Lindsay, who at the time was an organizer with Answer, the youth coordinator, and who last year was the presidential candidate of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. In progress.
Just this morning, as he mentioned, I was featured on a national call-in television show discussing student opposition to the war in Iraq. And call after call, coming from people all across the country, declared that they knew while Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, and the rich white college students sitting across the desk from me were calling for this needless war, not a goddamn one of them will be sent to fight it. They do not stand to lose their sons and daughters. It is us. It is our communities that will be the most hard hit. It is our schools that go underfunded. It is our families that don't have health care and can't find jobs. And for what? Go amongst the ranks of the military today and ask them if they hold stock in major weapons companies. Ask the soldiers if their father's on the board of Texaco, Exxon, Mobil, and the answer will be no. And so we will stand and fight here, today, against the Bush administration's policies. We will stand and fight for our sisters and brothers all over the world. And this is just the beginning. Today is just the manifestation of a huge movement that grows huger every day. A movement that stands in solidarity with the people of the world, that votes no war, and that demands no blood for oil.
No blood for oil! Brothers and sisters, I'd like to invite to the podium a tenacious fighter for the rights of the American people, the Palestinian people, the Iraqi people. She's been to Iraq and Palestine many times to bring the truth of the situations over there to the American people. She's a dear friend of mine, a representative of the International Action Center. She is Sarah Flounders.
Sisters and brothers, today there are demonstrations all over the world. But what we have here right now, looking out, must be driving the warmongers crazy. There is so much unity. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So many people, and it's people of every nationality, color, religion, age, in unity. In unity and in solidarity with people under attack. Now, solidarity is dangerous because solidarity is contagious. It spreads. We need a movement as powerful as a world movement that demands free Palestine. We need to speak with one voice when we say no war on Iraq. And today you can see that we represent the aspirations and the hopes of the people of the whole world for peace, not war. Now we need a way to make our collective voices heard every day. We need a way to send a message, because they don't want to tell us of our collective power. Congress won't tell us how many millions and millions of messages were sent saying to Congress, vote no war. Do you remember? So we need to send a message to Bush, to the Pentagon, to the world. And that's what votenowar.org, a simple website is. They can send out a count every day so that people of the whole world can send a message to Bush. Why not? Everyone has a Why not? Everyone has a stake in peace. So what we're talking about is a global people's referendum. People of the whole world saying vote no war can tell Bush and the Pentagon the real message. Today, in the tens of thousands, you look out and you see this sea of people here in Washington. We say to the world that here in the United States, there's a growing movement that stands against the U.S. wars, endless wars, all the wars, the U.S. bases of occupation, the U.S. troops, and colonial subjugation. Today, we see a movement that stands in solidarity with people under attack, and we know that we, the people, are the only force capable of ending the wars. Isn't that true? Every institution that the people have relied on, have put their trust in Congress, in the corporate media, in the United Nations, have betrayed our trust. We've learned through bitter experience that we need a People's Peace Congress that speaks for us, that is a gathering of all the people. And that's what there'll be here in Washington on the weekend of Martin Luther King's birthday, January 18th and 19th, a People's Peace Congress where we make our voice heard. Here in the United States, a new movement is born today, a movement that will take root and grow. But we must grow with great speed and determination and find new ways to reach out and feel our collective strength, new ways that involve people in the streets. There are petitions everyone here can sign today. There's 100 actions that we need to take, because a real debate won't open until the people are in the streets. The real debate on war and peace, on who profits and who pays. The real debate and the real issues on oil and corporate profits. And the real message that we need jobs and health care and schools, not war. So I say to everyone, sign on, send a message, votenowar.org. That's important. And we'll see you in Washington, January 18th and 19th for a People's Peace Congress. And we'll send the message every day, no war in Iraq.
All right, we can do it. No war in Iraq. No war in Iraq. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Okay, folks, just a few housekeeping notes here. All right, all of the volunteers for Project 300, we need you right now. Please report to the volunteer table for Project 100. It's to the right. Please get there right away. Please, if you come from the Adams Center, if you come from Dalhidra, and you're on the bus and you signed up for Project 300, please go in the back. If you came from New York, please go in the back. If you came from anywhere and you're supposed to be in the back, get to the back, all right? Now, also, George in the jogging suit, meet Molly at the North Carolina flag near the back of the crowd, okay? Folks, try to keep up with everybody. We can't do announcements all day. It'll take up an awful lot of time. So let's kind of look out for each other. Let's try to stay together, work out where you're going to meet each other and things like that. It's going to be very difficult if you want us to make announcements like this all day. And we've got a full day for you. We got this rally. We got a whole bunch of people here to speak for you. Then we're going to march a little bit. Then we're coming back. And then we got Al Sharpton and some other folks. So we got a full day for you here. And guess what? The sun is shining. All right, the sun is shining. Okay. Right now, we want to introduce Josh Rubner, who is with the executive director and co-founder for Jews for Peace in Palestine and Israel. Please give a big hand for Josh Rubner.
The Hebrew prophet Hosea taught us human beings that we must sow for ourselves righteousness and reap according to love and kindness. Zeru lechem litzdaka, kitru lefi chesed. For he understood that if human beings treat each other with dignity and with equality, then we will succeed in creating an environment in which justice shall reign. But if we base our behavior on the mistaken premise that our acts of violence and our acts of oppression toward our fellow human beings will somehow ensure our own safety and our own well-being, then he taught us that we are in for a rude surprise. Because we entrust ourselves to violence and to the way of the warrior, a tumult shall arise amongst our people, and all of our fortresses shall be destroyed. Oh Lord, how long will we let these false messiahs of messianism, of militarism, dictate the affairs of the world? How long will we entrust our way to the way of the warrior and not to the way of the peacemaker? When will we realize that we have been put on this earth not to oppress our fellow human being and cause them to suffer, but to heal our wounds and to transcend our suffering? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote, "We will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the hateful words and actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good people." We here today will not be a generation of appalling silence towards the injustices of the world. But we will struggle for the right of all people to live in dignity and live in freedom from the oppression of today's pharaohs. Thank you very much.
I hope that the cameras are not only focusing on the podium, I hope they're showing this enormous crowd so that people everywhere can see that anti-war people are the majority. We are not going to let racism or bigotry divide us. There's no reason why human beings, whether they be Muslim or Jewish or Christian or whatever, shouldn't be working together to stop this war. Am I right or wrong? We're not afraid of each other, but we embrace each other in solidarity against racism and against war. It's my privilege to introduce a representative of the National Muslim Students Association, Brother Ahmed Al-Azawi.
First of all, I would like to say that I'm an American citizen, born in Baghdad, Iraq. About a week ago, I called my mother, who's in Iraq right now. As she was going to a nearby store, she saw two little cute kids on the way. They were digging through a pile of garbage on the side of the road, looking for something to eat. One of them thought that he was lucky, he found a piece of rotten, old, soggy bread. He generously tore it in half and shared it with his little sister. They quickly gobbled it down, rotten food. Now, this situation in Iraq did not happen by accident or by some sheer unfortunate or unavoidable circumstance. No. This devastating circumstance, the situation that erupted, is a direct result of the inhumane and incompetent policies created by people who are motivated by greed and their desire to rule with an iron fist. It was created by people that don't comprehend or don't even care what it means to live in absolute fear, what it means to die because of hunger, what it means to die from being cold, what it means to have your child die because the only thing you could give him to satiate his crying is sewage water. It's so unfortunate that a country that raises a banner of freedom and human rights has stripped away an entire nation of its freedom to live as dignified human beings. It has trampled on every notion of human rights by killing more than, not 10, not 100, not 1,000, but more than 4,500 children every single month. Folks, this is more than the people that died in the Twin Towers. This is only the folks, it's only the people that are innocent children. We're not talking about everybody else, only the children. Remember, 4,500 children every single month for the last 12 years. This is the most cruel weapon. It's a silent weapon of mass destruction. The Muslim Student Association of the United States and Canada reiterates its condemnation of the sanctions as an inhumane policy and calls for the immediate lifting. We call on the people of conscience and the people whose hearts have not yet hardened. Wake up. Please educate yourself about the catastrophic situation in Iraq right now. The time of talk has ended. The time for action has begun. Stop the war on Iraq before it begins.
It is so important when people who are well known because of their artistic talent have the conscience and the courage to step forward and speak their minds in opposition to war. We are honored to have today an actor and a fighter for social justice, Susan Sarandon.
I am here today as a mother who is frightened for my children, who is frightened for your children, and who is frightened for the children of Iraq. A mother who knows that violence escalates violence, that terrorism has never successfully been fought this way. And in fact, we have just now been told by George Tenet, director of the CIA, that despite this very violent campaign in Afghanistan, that we are now, the risk of terror attack inside the United States is as grave as the summer before the 11th. I am here to ask questions that have not been answered. How will the bombing of Baghdad, a city of 5 million, accomplish a regime change? How much will that bombing cost in lives and in money? And change to what? To who? How much will it cost us to maintain stability in that region, and for how long? And what about our relationship with our allies? Our allies who are not with us. What about our relationship with the UN? I am here because I am tired of being frightened to speak out. We have been told that you are either with us or against us. That to ask a question is anti-American, divisive. Mr. Bush, you have hijacked our pain, our loss, our fear, and you have convinced many that to fight preemptively is the only way to protect our democracy. I say to you, Mr. Bush, this is what democracy looks like. Let us find a way to resist fundamentalism that leads to violence. Fundamentalism of all kinds in Al-Qaeda and within our government. And what is our fundamentalism? Cloaked in patriotism and our doctrine of spreading democracy throughout the world, our fundamentalism is business. The unfettered spread of our economic interests throughout the globe. Our resistance to this war should be our resistance to profit at the cost of human life. Because that is what these drums over Iraq are really about. This is about business. The business of distracting American attention from Enron and Halliburton. The financial scandals that directly connect this administration to the heart of what is now wrong with the American economy. These scandals have disappeared from the front pages of our newspapers as we argue about this war. In the name of fear and fighting terror, we are giving the reins of power to oil men looking for distraction from their disastrous economic performance. Oil men more interested in a financial bottom line than a moral bottom line. Oil men ready to expand their influence with new contracts on the soil our bombers have plowed. New contracts forged with governments that do not allow democracy on their soil for fear of losing control over the oil that governs their lives, that governs our lives. The majority in America knows this. A dormant majority in America waits with anticipation for the politician that will stand in front of the American people in defiance of the oil companies and advocate alternative energy as a way to extricate ourselves from this culture of violence that threatens our future. Let us resist this war and our impending oil war in Colombia. Let us resist fundamentalism in all its guises. Let us hate war in all its forms, whether its weapon is a U.S. missile or its weapon is a domestic airplane. Dialogue is the opposite of war. Dialogue makes peace possible. We are here today in dialogue to ask for a solution that comes from a place that values human life, that respects the rights of people everywhere. We are here to encourage nonpartisan courage. We are here to take democracy back. Thank you.
No war, no way. No war, no way. Wave those signs. Let the camera see you. Everybody all over the world. You know, we got reports that there are buses from all over the country still on the highway. There's so many buses and cars and vans in Washington trying to get into Washington that we have shut Washington down. And it ought to send a message to Bush. The people are so angry about this war. If he tries to do it, we may just shut everything down. We're talking about stopping the war against Iraq, but we also want to stop the war at home against the poor, against black people and Latino people and Asian people, Native people, working people. I've had the privilege of knowing our next speaker, who I think ever since 1978, 79, from New York City. We had a crisis there. We still got it. Police brutality and racism. And we needed some leadership to come forward and organize the community to stop police brutality and stop racism. And Reverend Herbert Daughtry put together the Black United Front, and we got out in the street and we did what we had to do. So let's bring on Reverend Herbert Daughtry, not only a New York leader, but a national leader.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think it is appropriate that we pause for a moment in silent prayer for Senator Wellstone and his family. Let us just pause for a moment. Thank you. I would like to announce that for those who are coming back to New York, the organizers have,
that's right, he died right after the vote for the
called
war.
for a rally, a continuation on November the 21st. November the 21st. The momentum must continue. We must continue the momentum.
Which he voted against, and he was organizing
finally,
against.
Now, you know, Bush has a wall, and he has the money. But he left us with a little bit. And what we want you to do is share that little bit with us. We need some money to put this kind of mobilization in place. So the baskets will be passed. Now, I say in my church, if you want to know when God is speaking to you, that's when you hear the voice say, give everything you got. It's easy. Please be generous. I've come here today to add my voice to the swelling chorus demanding that the drumbeat of war be silent and let peace have a chance. If Mr. Bush insists upon war, then let him go fight. And let him take Secretary Rumfield and Secretary Powell, and all the war hawks with him. And let us, with our sons and our daughters, who will be the fodder for Bush's war cannon, root them on from a nice, safe, luxurious place. And when they come back, dead and wounded, let us roll the drum beats, raise the flags, sing patriotic songs, and praise their heroism, and then let us take credit for being the great war genius. Now, since Mr. Bush loved war talk, I long to see an old-fashioned OK Corral shootout with Bush and Hussein. We are compelled to ask, what is the reason for this mad rush to war? Is it an Iraqi imminent threat whose reported mass weapons will reach our shores tomorrow or before winter set in? What is this mad rush to war, I ask? Is it the fear of Iraq, or is it petroleum, politics, power, and the prosperity for the war machine makers? We should strongly admonish Mr. Bush to look homeward, angel. The barn is burning. The livestock is sick and dying. The nation has a health crisis. Look homeward, angel. There is unemployment, bankruptcy, economic instability, and the house is shaken to its foundation. Look homeward, angel. We have a serious problem. Oh. All right. We have a serious political corruption problem. Of course, Mr. Bush, you wouldn't know anything about stealing an election. Let me close then with a question a 6-year-old asked her mother. Why are they so mad at us, Mommy? If we could truly answer that question, it may be we could find a corrective. And please, Mr. Bush, don't say they hate us because we have democracy and freedom and we are rich. If we have these things, we had them a long time ago, and we didn't have the same kind of situation we have today. But it would be more truthful, Mr. Bush, to say we have done some good things and we have done some bad things. And the bad things are catching up with us. We have sown to the wind, and now we are reaping the whirlwind. A long time ago, another president said, I shudder for my country when I remember that God is just. There is such a thing as karma. No, Mr. President, Mr. Bush, it is not what we have that make people mad at us, but it is the way we have used what we have. But it is not too late, and I'm closing. I thought I had negotiated some time by raising the offering. I thought they were going to add on a minute for me. All right, I got one more paragraph. Please, y'all watch my back for me now. Y'all got my back? No, it is not too late. Let us keep on doing, America, the good things we are doing. Let's increase that. But let us admit we've done some bad things, and let us vow to correct the bad things. perhaps then, in the biblical expression, we could beat our swords into spears and our spears into pruning hooks and study war no more. But in the meanwhile, let's keep on marching. In the meanwhile, let's keep on mobilizing. In the meanwhile, let's keep on organizing. In the meanwhile, a people united can never be defeated.
You know, they said there was a consensus. They said that there couldn't be this kind of demonstration. They said that the fear would keep people at home. And Bush said, you know, you're with us or you're with the terrorists. Well, all he has to do is take a look outside today, and we're saying no war on Iraq. We vote no to war. And that George Bush serves at our pleasure. Congress serves at our pleasure. And when they do not listen to the will of the people will act for themselves. We are out here today. We are showing what democracy is. We are taking the democratic right in our own hands to take to the streets, to take the power of the government that is in the hands of the people, and to determine the course of our futures and our children's futures. It isn't up to George Bush. It isn't up to the hawks in the White House and the Pentagon. It's up to us. We're stopping this war. This is a massive demonstration. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of people. They said we couldn't get to 100,000 people. There are people as far as I can possibly see. And there are buses still coming. As I speak, buses are still coming. People are streaming in. It takes an enormous amount of work and time and money to build a demonstration like this. It takes hundreds and hundreds of volunteers, and it takes money to be able to get the buses here, to have the stage, to have the demonstration. And we ask all of you, because we know everyone who's here has worked hard to get here. We know everyone who's here has taken the time and the effort to get on buses, to get in cars, to come downtown. But we ask you to help do more so that we can keep this fight going. There will be volunteers coming through the crowd. The official volunteers who are collecting donations, the donations that are officially to support this demonstration that you're at today, have black and white sashes. They have buckets that look like this. That's how you know who you're giving to. We ask everybody to please give what you can. Everyone here can reach in and help. It makes this demonstration possible. It makes the next demonstration possible. We all need your help to keep this going, to keep the people in the streets, to keep the streets and the sidewalks open, to keep the bodies and the voices out here so that we can take democracy in our hands and we will change the course of this future.
Brothers and sisters, the buckets are going around. Please be generous. Please be generous. As one person said, freedom ain't free. So we got to, deal with it. Please be very, very generous. The people, organizers really worked very hard to put this on for you. So we need your support. We need your help.
This is the sound of a demonstration that took place on October 26th, 2002, after the House had passed the authorization for the president to conduct war on Iraq, which he did the following March on October 10th, the Senate on October 11th, and the president signed it on October 16th. On October 26th, 10 days later, hundreds of thousands of people gathered across from the Vietnam Veterans War Memorial to speak out against the Bush administration and, more particularly, the war in Iraq. This is CPRmetro.org, Community Progressive Radio for the Metropolitan New York area and the world. And we're showing the chain of events that led to the massive demonstration, global demonstration, on February 15th, 2003.
They said, oh, it's going to rain. But I knew one thing. It doesn't rain on the righteous. It doesn't rain on the righteous. Okay, and so we're here today. We're here today in record numbers. We are here today. We're over 100,000 and we are growing. All right, tell that. Tell that. You want to know how many people? 100 and growing. And the best is yet to come. We've got a big march all the way around the White House. Then we're going to come back and we've got another rally. We've got a full day, folks. But we need you to help out when these buckets come around. Give from your heart. Give, support our efforts. We say no war in Iraq. 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 No war in Iraq.
Brothers and sisters, you gotta give the money today, not tomorrow. If you can afford $5, please give 10, because this is about unity. Do you like unity? Do you love justice? Then give the money and invest, because this is about justice. This is about unity. This is about stopping the war against Iraq before it starts. We gotta invest today so we can get to tomorrow, because there is no looking back. There is no stopping, and the money will keep us going. So dig deep in your pocket and fill up those buckets. We need to tell the administration that the people can finance their activities. We don't need the scandal-riddled corporations, no Enron, no Global Crossing, because we're against them. Dig deep and give, because we need the money to keep going ahead. Thank you.
We need to keep your consciousness very focused on this need for finances, because we're not going to be able to stop this war unless we've got that fuel. Unless we got that fuel. Now, I got $1 here, and I want everybody to wave whatever bill they got, whether it's a 20 or 50 or a check. By the way, you can make checks out to the People's Rights Fund /answer. But if we're going to stop the war, then like that movie said, you got to show me the money. Stop war? Show me the money. Stop war? Then show me the money. Okay.
We have with us now an artist who speaks out and sings out for social justice and human rights and against this coming attempt at a preemptive war by George Bush. Please welcome Patti Smith.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Our flag is at half-mast because an individual is gone. an individual, Paul Wellstone, who is also against the war. But we are all the individual, each one of us. And as our numbers grow, our voice will be heard. He would not want us to give him a moment of silence. He would want public outcry. And that's what we must do. We only have a few words that we need to say to no war, no war, no war. We're going to do a little song that was inspired in 1986 by Jesse Jackson. I heard Jesse Jackson speak, and these words were written, and now God has smiled upon us and brought us all together. This song was written for all of you, for the individual, and to us, all the people united, and we hope that we will all use our voice. Use your voice. People rule. Come on. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. Racial aspects became suspect. And bent low as if to hear, and the armies ceased advancing because the people had their ear, and the shepherds and the soldiers, where they lay beneath the stars, exchanging visions, laying arms unto waste in the dust. I saw fountains, and like cream, the waters rise, and we strolled there together, with none to laugh or criticize, where the leopard and the lamb lay together, truly bold. Well, I was hoping, in my hoping, to recall what I'd found. I was dreaming, in my dreaming, God knows, pure as blue, as I surrender into my sleeping.
Thank you very
No
much.
war, no way. No war, no war, no war, no war. Are we going to let Bush drag us into war? Are we going to let Bush drag us into fighting?
You're listening to the sounds of an anti-war rally that was held 10 days after President George Bush signed the bill that was sent to him by both houses of Congress authorizing him to do a war on Iraq. The bill passed the House on October 10th, 2002, the Senate on October 11th, 2002, and was signed by President Bush on October 16th, 2002. This rally took place with hundreds of thousands of people 10 days later on October 26th, 2002 in Washington, D.C.
And then they want to forget about it, but we don't want them to forget that we know that they don't represent us. So if you want to vote against the war and also support this movement, go to votenowar.org. It's on the literature, votenowar.org.
Our next speaker is an Iraqi American who still has family in Iraq and who's very concerned, went to Iraq many times, and he will tell you about how the Iraqi people feel about, quote unquote, being liberated. His name is Kaduri Al-Qaisi from the Committee in Support of the Iraqi People.
Brother and sister, just now I came from Iraq, and the Iraqi people, they have no hope to stop the war except you American people. You can stop the war. Iraqi under the siege for 12 years. We have no medicine, they have no food. Iraqi being bombed every single day. The loss is 250 people every single day. A month, 5,000. Since 1991, Iraq lost 1.5 million. So we don't want the war. What do you want the Bush to do? Another Afghanistan? He put like Hamid Karzai as a puppet. He's only his own troop. He's only his people. He's only his tribe. Refused to give him even a bodyguard. So we don't want that to happen in Iraq. The Iraqi now for change, last year they live better than before. They have a little bit medicine, a little bit food, so they live really much better than before. So we don't want a war anymore. So no war in Iraq. What
This is CPRmetro.org, Community Progressive Radio for the Metropolitan New York area and the world, and we're inside our 12-hour special commemorating February 15th, 2003, the date the largest demonstration in the history of the world took place against the war in Iraq.
Thank you so much, and no war in Iraq. No war in Iraq.
And this is the sound of a demonstration that took place in Washington on October 26th, 2002.
Problem here. The sound tower, stage right. We've got a problem here. I think somebody stepped on the card. If we can get a tech over person over here and get it up. Can you hear over there? Stage right. The tower. Is it coming out? Okay. Can we get someone to go ahead and troubleshoot that right away? Bear with us, folks. We're going to continue to go. But right now, tech, we need you to go over and take care of the tower that's over stage right. We don't have any sound coming out of that tower over there.
I'm on it.
All right, all right. Mystery Man, he's on it. Let's hear it for the mystery man. He's on it. The man who's on it. Okay, all right. All right, brothers and sisters, right now, we are proud members of the American and Muslim Society and its Freedom Foundation. We're proud to bring to you an activist extraordinaire who's been very, very active in the area of human rights and civil rights. Please give a big, big, warm welcome for Sister Manel Omar.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most merciful, the most beneficial. Assalamu alaikum. I greet you with peace. There are many reasons that we are all here today, some of which is to stop the killing from the sanctions of innocent people, primarily women and children. We're also here to tell our administration to come home, to deal with issues that we're suffering with in terms of education, healthcare, and our economy, and to take that as their priority. Most importantly, we don't want our money to go to war, and a war that will be in our name. For the world will stand witness that this war is coming from the U.S. I was in Iraq in 1997 and 1998 working with the UN. My intention was to try and help the Iraqi people, and it quickly became apparent that I shouldn't be in Baghdad, but I have to come back to Washington, D.C., because it's the decisions here that are killing the people there. Now, the administration wants us to believe that this thirst for war, this family vengeance, is justified. And they've gone on a campaign to explain to us who don't understand why war is necessary. So they started with a series of half-truths, telling us that in 1996, the UN started an oil for food program geared to help alleviate the pain of the Iraqi people. They tell us that it's Saddam Hussein who's hoarding the food and who's not distributing it. What they don't tell us is that UN report after report says that distribution is complete and actually commends the Iraqi government for their distribution of the oil for food program. What they don't tell us is that the oil for food program, only 56% goes to southern Iraq. The rest of the oil for food is distributed between northern Iraq, the UN, which is an unprecedented thing where the UN is actually being paid for their services on the money of Iraq. And then they tell us about how evil Saddam Hussein is and how he has used the weapons against his own people. What they don't tell us is that this was done when Saddam Hussein was the friend of the U.S. in the late 80s. What they don't tell us is that they knew and stood by in the late 80s and turned an eye, seeing him as part of the containment policy of the Middle East. But even those half-truths couldn't mislead the people, because the people started asking why the war? And so they had to resort to out-and-out lies. They came and told us that Saddam Hussein is ready with flights that are building up daily, not telling us that they can't even reach the U.S. So what we need to do is realize that the lies and the way they're trying to mislead us that we will not accept. And so what we're here today to say is that we're calling on you, and we're saying that no more lies and no war, and not in our name.
We're all out here today in huge numbers to stop George Bush's global war drive abroad, but there is a war here at home, a war that is being waged by this administration on civil rights, on civil liberties, and on workers' rights. The longshore workers in California are under assault by the Bush administration. And we have today Clarence Thomas, Secretary-Treasurer of the International Longshore Workers Union, Local 10. Please welcome Mr. Thomas.
Are we ready to fight? Are we ready to fight? Are we ready to fight? Are we going to stop the Bush war machine? Are we going to stop the Bush war machine? Brothers and sisters, on behalf of the ILWU, the International Longshore and Warehouse Union in San Francisco, I bring you greetings and solidarity, because you are the fighters, the true fighters for social justice and peace. In keeping with our progressive history, we are one of the first unions to come out against the war, because we say no new war against Iraq, no blood for oil, no death to innocent Iraqi people, in particular women and children, no colonial occupation of Iraq, no taking control of their oil fields. If there is a regime change in Iraq,
Let the Iraqi people make the change and not George Bush. Brothers and sisters, as you all know, the ILWU was under assault by not only the Pacific Maritime Association, but also the Bush administration. You have to understand one thing. The ILWU is the union that refused to unload cargo emanating from South Africa, that set into motion a chain of events that brought down apartheid. We are the union that shut down the port in 1999 in support of the WTO. We are the union that shut down the port in 1999 in support to free Mumia Abu Jamal. Brothers and sisters, the war on terrorism has a component. It's the war on against our rights, a war against our civil liberties, the U.S. Patriot Act, which locks up immigrants who are not terrorists, taking away their rights, Homeland Security, Homeland Police over our free American citizens, Port Maritime Security Act, which treats maritime workers as if they're potential terrorists. The Bush administration has promised to use the military to load and unload cargo in the event of a strike. And we say this to George Bush: hands off the docks, stay out of Iraq. Join me in this chant. Hands off the dock, stay out of Iraq. Hands off the dock, stay out of Iraq. Let me hear you. Let me hear you. Hands off the dock, stay out of Iraq. And injury to one is injury to all. Thank you.
Brothers and sisters, allow me in the name of the International Answer Coalition and in your name to salute the people of Coral Environmental Leadership Summit who came here in the hundreds to participate in this historic day. They left their summit and they came here. Also to tell you that the tens of buses from New York has not yet arrived. So we are expecting a lot more people to come and be with us in this historic day.
Sisters and brothers, we've been told that there are many, many buses from New York that haven't arrived yet. And you know we have a march and we have a very important afternoon rally, but we have so many people and so many buses coming in that the rally may never end, the march may go on, and people may be coming in while some of y'all are marching out. But we'll deal with it. We'll deal with it. We're here to stop the war. How many of you know about the struggle to stop the naval bombing of Vieques? Raise your hand. We've got a brother, Ivan Torres, who represents the youth of Vieques.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters, from anywhere you come from, because we are together in this struggle. My name is Ivan Torres, and I come from the island of Vieques, Puerto Rico. For more than 60 years, my homeland and my people have been oppressed by abuse by the U.S. Navy. From the very beginning, they took over the land and the majority of the people were removed. The rest of the people became guinea pigs as a part of a shameful military experiment in which they used napalm, depleted uranium, Agent Orange, among others, in a place where almost 10,000 of brothers' lives. Nowadays, our parents, our brothers, our sisters, and our children suffer of many diseases. And the young people feel frustrated, given that our dignity and pride prevent us to renounce and abandon the land that saw us grow. the same land which our grandfather grew our food, the same land we want to cultivate again, but our dream being halted. Here, in this city, we have a government that keep us in a constant war status for over 60 years. The same government uses our waters for military exercise, in which our young people are training to kill women and children all over the world. Our concerns don't end here. Our people are tired of the continuous political game that keep us away from our love dream. But it worse, as the U.S. preparing to wage a war on Iraq, claiming that this country may produce chemical and biological weapons, but who will take care of the government that just weeks ago admitted that he have used these same weapons on our island, who is going to protect us? This is why our fight on Vieques goes on. Our countrymen have become human shields against the bombs reclaiming our right to health and life. This is how our people will fight any army with courage in order to accomplish what we want. As a representative of my people, I demand from the President of the United States that instead of using his power to declare a war, use it to bring peace to our people. We are demanding from the President an executive order that brings to an immediate halt of military practice and also the immediate withdrawal of Navy from our homeland. Brothers and sisters, your struggle is our struggle. Stop the bombing now. Stop the genocide. Peace for Vieques and peace for the world. Y fuera la marina de mi tierra.
Next, we have a representative of the Student Liberation Action Movement, SLAM, also the president of Hunter College Student Government, Sister Zara Khan.
Wow. This is the most beautiful thing I've seen since April 20th, when we all gathered here in solidarity with the people of Palestine. Give yourselves a round of applause. Assalamu alaikum. I come in peace. I come for peace. And I come with the clear understanding that without justice, there can be no peace. My name is Zara Khan. I'm the president of the undergraduate student government at Hunter College, which is part of the City University of New York, CUNY. I'm here representing SLAM, the Student Liberation Action Movement. We are the students of New York City. Our city was attacked on September 11th, 2001. We lost our students to an act of terror. And then we lost our students to immigrant tuition hikes, which are meant to terrorize immigrant communities in New York City. Today, the students of CUNY have come out here by the busloads to protest this new low in U.S. imperialism, to protest this new low in the world's most inhumane foreign policy, to protest this new example of U.S. arrogance, which wants us to believe that American lives are worth more than all other kinds. But we know better than that. Even though the many massive propaganda campaigns try to train us in political amnesia, try to speak to us in Orwellian doublespeak, we all know, we, the people of conscience in the United States, can call out a terrorist when we see him steal the presidency, can call out a terrorist. We can call out a terrorist when we see his energy politics, and we can call out a terrorist when we see him struggling to make a case to up the war against the people of Iraq that has been going on for 12 years. And so we assemble here today. Each of our 100,000 voices becomes one voice today as we proclaim to the international terrorists in the White House that no more blood is going to be spilt for oil. All of us gather here today, people of all faiths, people of all nations, citizens and non-citizens, and this is important, citizens and non-citizens, because I am not a citizen of the United States. I am proud to be a dissenting immigrant, and that does not make me a terrorist. I am not afraid, just like we all are not afraid. In the words of one of my heroes, Che Guevara, the bullets, what can the bullets do to me if my destiny is to die by drowning? So I'll leave you now, my dear brothers and sisters, because I'm anxious to march, anxious to rage against injustice. No more blood for oil. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Our next speaker has been at the forefront of all political movements and fights for the past 3 decades. He is a foremost leader of civil rights attorneys. He has been a fighter for political activists and for the right of the people of the United States to dissent and to cause change. He has been there for the Chicago 8, for the Pentagon Papers, for Angela Davis. Please welcome Leonard Weinglass.
I'm here to speak to you today about 5 Cuban men who took up the struggle against terrorism directed at their country from the United States and are now serving life sentences in America's prisons. You might remember that the justification for the war in Afghanistan was that any country that hosts terrorists is as guilty as the terrorists themselves. For 40 years, this country has hosted a network of terrorism in Florida directed at Cuba. It has recruited them, trained them, and armed them. And when Cuba repeatedly asked the United States, the host country, to rein in our terrorists, they were met with inaction. And so the Cubans sent a group of people here to monitor the activities of the terrorist network in Florida. And when they got too close, the FBI stepped in and arrested the 5 and prosecuted them before the exile community in Miami, and they were sentenced to life terms in prison. Their case is now under appeal and needs your support. This case is more easily understood if you think of the case of Orlando Bosch.
They've been in jail for 10 years since this rally, October 26, 2002, by the way.
Planted a bomb on a Cubana airline in 1978, which exploded in midair, killing 73 people. Mr. Bosch applied for residence in the United States after that episode, and the Justice Department and the INS deemed him an undesirable person, pointed to 30 years of terrorist activity, including the bombing, and asked that he be barred from entry in the United States. But Orlando Bosch had a friend in Florida, a young man who wanted to be governor. His name was Jeb Bush. He intervened with his father, who was then the President of the United States. And George Bush Sr. overruled the Justice Department and the INS and granted Orlando Bush residence in the United States He now walks as a free man in Miami, Florida. He walks as a free man while the five, who had no guns, no explosives, created no harm in the United States, did not involve themselves in any classified information here, did not interfere with national security, are serving life in maximum security prisons here in the United States. The next time the Bush administration moralizes about the war on terrorism, remember Orlando Bosch and remember the Cuban Five. Thank you.
Our next speaker is from the Nicaragua Network, a member of the National Steering Committee of International Answer. Please welcome Chuck Kaufman.
You're listening to the sounds of an anti-war rally that was held on October 26, 2002, in the lead-up to the organized effort on February 15, 2003.
The same way that we kept the United States from invading Nicaragua and El Salvador in the 1980s. Congress didn't stop those wars. The president didn't stop those wars. We, the people, stopped those wars with a massive campaign of non-cooperation with the war machine and with massive peaceful disruption of business as usual. Students literally chased armed military recruiters off their campuses. They forced shutdown of ROTC programs. They resisted the draft. Soldiers refused to fight, and many deserted. People refused to pay war taxes. They constantly mobilized in the streets and on the campuses. People blocked trains carrying weapons and munitions bound for Central America. 80,000 pledged that they would go to jail for acts of civil disobedience if the U.S. invaded Nicaragua or El Salvador. Today, a new generation is called upon to stop another insane war in the only way in which the only victors will be oil fat cats and arms merchants. The losers will be tens of thousands of women, children, and young men, both Iraqi and American, who will be slaughtered, and the rest of us who will lose health care, education, and jobs as our taxes are diverted to war. Groups like mine, the Nicaragua Network, and the others that make up the International Answer Coalition are clear that we oppose U.S. imperialism, period, and without qualification. And we support the right of self-determination for all peoples, Nicaraguans, Iraqis, and most explicitly Palestinians. Since Congress does not represent us, we need to set up institutions that do. The Answer Coalition is asking each of you to go home from this march today and collect 100 signatures on the People's Anti-War Referendum, and then to bring them back to D.C. on the weekend of January 18th for a grassroots peace congress and a mass demonstration. Those of you at home can go to the website www.votenowar to cast your vote for peace. Capitalists require calm and stability to make their profits. We must go home today and make sure they don't have one day of calm, not 1 hour of stability until this senseless war is ended. Thank you.
Brothers and sisters, there are some people who are basically who've dealt with this thing, especially some of the shameful members, how they behaved in the Congress. They stuck their finger out and tried to gauge the political wind. At this time, I'm going to introduce a person who has been in the spirit of Dr. King when he said that the Kaaba will ask, is it safe? Vanity will ask, is it popular? But God consciousness will ask, is it right? Here is a man who's got it right. He's been having it right for a long time when it comes to justice and fighting for justice. He's not new to this. He's true to this. Please welcome Reverend Jesse Jackson!
Brothers and sisters, a moment of silence. Let us join hands for Paul and Sheila Wellstone and their daughter, for 8 brothers and sisters who perished on yesterday. His seat may be filled. His principles and commitment to integrity and passion and purpose will not be so easily filled. Let us rededicate ourselves to the cause of peace and justice that Paul always fought for. We thank God for his memory, for his purpose, and for that which he left in us. Amen. My brothers and sisters, Dr. King's heart would be lifted today to see so many drum majors for justice gathered here today in the name of nonviolent resistance. Thank you for taking your place today in the long historic chain for struggle. Today, Dr. King would be especially happy to see so many young people energizing a new peace movement in America. People often say the young are our future, but I beg to differ. You are our present. You are our right now. When 2 Jewish students and 1 black college student went to Mississippi in 1964 for Freedom Summer, they paid the highest price, but Mississippi moved. Goodman, Swerny, and Cheney let them serve as a model for our movement. When a small group of African-American youth sat down at the lunch counter in Greensboro, North Carolina in 1960 and refused to leave, Americans were transfixed. The soul of America was transformed. When Dr. King led the movement in Montgomery, he was only 26. The whole world changed. When I first marched with Martin at Selma in 1965, I was 23. He was still only 36. Dr. King taught us that times of crisis were also times of opportunity. That politics could be redefined, society turned upside down, if young people acted on behalf of the moral center. When young America moves, the whole world moves. Without vision, the people perish. Without vision, we end up with division. 2 years ago, George W. Bush campaigned on the idea he would bring back unity, bipartisanship, and a change in tone in our national politics. Now he campaigns on division, Republican partisanship, and a change in regime in Iraq. I say we should finish the fight we're already in before starting to take on another invasion and occupation. Let's keep our eyes on the prize. When we act out of fear rather than hope, we get bitter rather than better. That's true for America. Acting from fear, we make the whole world nervous. It's also true for us. Acting from fear instead of hope, we create division and make our movement weaker. As we reassemble our coalition of conscience, we must not let the diseases we fight against infect our movement. Say no to racism, but don't stop there. Say no to sexism, but don't stop there. Say no to anti-Semitism, anti-Islamism. Say no to homophobia, but don't stop there. Our movement must reflect the healing and the values that we seek. We know the dangers if we go to war: death and waste, suffering, hatred, and blowback, collateral damage to innocent Iraqi children, to our own soldiers, many of them minorities and poor, to the American economy with the war over $200 billion cost. There's a time to every season under heaven. Sometimes wars are necessary. If you will, the Civil War to save the Union, to end slavery, was a necessary war. World War II to end fascism was a necessary war. Indeed, getting Saddam out of Kuwait was necessary. Attacking Grenada and Panama and now attacking Iraq preemptively is unnecessary. We can go a better way. There was a time for peace. Now is such a time. A time for the UN, not unilateralism. A time for pressure, not preemptive strikes. A time for international criminal courts, not invasions. Saddam Hussein should be held accountable for his crimes. That's a good argument for the International Criminal Court, not a good argument for bombing Baghdad. If we launch a preemptive strike on Iraq, we lose all moral authority. How will we then say no to India, to Pakistan, to China, when they consider preemptive strikes? What moral authority do we have when we say to Putin, when he invokes the Bush doctrine of preemption against Chechnya? We lose our moral authority with one-bullet diplomacy. One-bullet diplomacy is for gangsters and thugs, not great nations such as ours. Chile suffered from one-bullet diplomacy. Gandhi and King died from one-bullet diplomacy. Lincoln died from one-bullet diplomacy. John and Robert Kennedy died from one-bullet diplomacy. We must have a higher, more moral order of conflict resolution, not one-bullet diplomacy. We have a higher calling. When did we vote on preemption? When did we, the people, ever decide to change from a strong defense to a first strike offense? Since July 4, 1776, thanks to the victories and struggles of our forefathers and foremothers, America has flourished as an expanding democracy. We will fail as an empire. Let's embrace democracy, not empires. Let's choose leading and not ruling. If you will, be clear of the tricks of diversion. Watch diversion. If I said to you today, we're here at a rally to preemptive strikes, a rally for peace, all of you hold your right hand up. Hold your right hand up. And look to the sky. Together, let's count to 10. Let's go. Louder.
2, 3, 4, 5,
Louder.
6, 7, 8, 9.
Now say the sky's falling. The sky's falling. It is not falling. That is diversion. George Bush, Saddam is not coming, but the economy is falling. Jobs are falling. Health care is falling. We must not be diverted. We must not be diverted. We must not be diverted. In 2 years, we've lost 2 million jobs. Unemployment is up. Stock market down. Poverty up. Tuition up. A tax cut for the rich. The CEOs get record pay. The workers lose their jobs. We've gone from 401k to 201k, It's time for a change. It's time to vote on November the 5th for hope. We need a regime change in the Congress. Let's vote on November the 5th. Lastly, there's the vision of our coalition against Al-Qaeda, the danger of an ugly war. If we attack Iraq preemptively, attack them preemptively, unilaterally, we kill many innocent people just to kill him, and then to occupy Iraq, and then to control the oil, and then raise defense contracts. We as a civilized people must know better and do better. We must be a greater nation than that. On this note, I close and challenge you today. We must trust democracy, choose leadership over ruling. We must build a new peace movement based on nonviolence, reaching out to ordinary people, not just soldiers. This time the silent majority is on our side. Americans do not want this war. Choose democracy. If we trust democracy, we'll come alive on November 5. If we choose democracy, we'll honor Paul Wellstone and Sheila. If we come alive, we'll make our nation better. Don't forget what Dr. King taught us. The arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice. Beat swords in the plowshares, spears in the pruning hooks. Let lions lie down with lambs. Let's study war no more. Someday, justice will roll down like water that rushes like a mighty stream. The struggle for peace is long and unpopular, but we must prevail. Vanity asks the question, is it popular? Politics asks the question, will it work? Morality asks the question, is it right? We must be right, be fair, be just. Keep hope alive. 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 Keep hope alive.
This is CPRmetro.org, and of course, acting on November 5th that year, 2002, would have done not much because a majority, 60% of the Democratic senators voted for the war. So how do you vote them out?
Well over 100,000 people here in Washington, D.C.
And one of the anti-war senators, one of the organizers of that effort, died in a plane crash within a couple days of the vote.
Well beyond the willow trees, there are people going all the way around the lake. Let's make sure that our brothers and sisters over there can hear us over here. You know, George Bush kept saying that America speaks with one voice, and that voice was his. It's not looking that way today. There's still folks going through the crowds with the red buckets. We ask again, please, everyone, give what you can, even if it's just a little bit, because collectively, when we pull even the smallest sums, $1, $5, $10, whatever you can do, it will make the difference, and we can repeat this day in and day out as we need to until we change their attempts at war. Our next speaker is a man of extraordinary principle and conscience. And more than any other political figure, he has fought the struggle for the people of Iraq. Please welcome Ramsey Clark, the former Attorney General.
The only decent respect we can show for the veterans of Vietnam whose names are on this memorial on this ground is to stop all U.S. wars. And we have to do it now. No more war memorials, peace memorials. And yet every day, in a dozen ways, you hear President Bush, Vice President Cheney, Secretary of State Powell, Secretary of State Defense Rumsfeld, and above all, the mighty voice of the media saying, war now. We've got to destroy Iraq. Who have you heard say about our responsibility and our accountability for the 3 wars we've already destroyed Iraq with? In 1991, 110,000 aerial sorties in 42 days, 88,500 tons of bombs, 150,000 dead. The Pentagon says we lost 155. More than 1/3 to friendly fire, the rest to accidents, no combat casualties. It was a slaughter. You don't slaughter with impunity. It is a war crime. It is a crime against humanity. Then we imposed the unbelievable sanctions on Iraq that have killed more than 1.5 million people, and every day we've known it. It's continued every day, and every day infants, children, elderly die from those sanctions. Just back from Iraq in September, the Minister of Health said the death rate continues to increase. The number of below normal weight, 2 kilos and below birth, is now 1 in 4. A midget generation. We have killed 1.5 million people with genocidal sanctions. Who's talking about that now? Where is U.S. accountability for that? We forced that. We've bombed that. We've overflown the sovereign territory of Iraq every day since 1991. We've bombed nearly every day. We've chosen our days carefully. On the 17th of January, 1993, 2 days before President Bush #1 left office, he sent more than 30 Tomahawk cruise missiles. He hit the Al Rashid Hotel. He took the life of Layla al-Attar 15 miles outside of Baghdad with a Tomahawk cruise missile. The greatest Arab artist of the 20th century, the head of the Museum of Modern Art in Baghdad, killed. And even in September and October of this year, while we're talking about maybe bombing soon, we're bombing almost every day. When we got there in September, the first day we got there, 8 killed in Baghdad, more than 40 killed in October. The war goes on, and we claim they are evil. We better pay attention. We are destroying international law, which has some potential for peace. We're destroying the United Nations, which is created to end the scourge of war. We're thumbing at our nose at the Nuremberg Charter, which stood for anything you cannot strike first, because Nazi Germany struck first time and time again. What did Heinrich Himmler tell the Gestapo? He said, shoot first, ask questions later, and I will protect you. And that's what we plan to do with Iraq and other countries. After Iraq, it'll be more. If we don't stop this now, we'll find that we live in chaos for the rest of our lives, and God knows what will happen to the next generation. We're destroying the Constitution of the United States. The Bill of Rights is a piece of paper that's worth nothing anymore. The government takes more pride in setting aside the Declaration of Independence as well as the Bill of Rights as anything it does. It wants to end the idea of individual freedom. You do what the government says, and that means march to war. These are criminal offenses. They are high crimes. They are indictable offenses, and they are impeachable offenses. I've lived with the Constitution as a lawyer for more than 50 years, and I tell you, if I know anything, these are impeachable offenses. And an attack on Iraq will be genocide. Again, it has to be prevented. Regime change needs to begin at home. We need to liberate the United States from militarism, for God's sake. Don't you see what we're doing? Billions and billions for killing, mass killing. Who has the weapons of mass destruction? We do. Who's spending more money every day for more weapons? We do. You've got to liberate this country from militarism. You've got to liberate this country from corporate oligarchy. They control our lives. This is not a democracy, it's a plutocracy. The people don't rule here, wealth rules, the corporations rule. They rule the Congress, they elect the president, they run the Pentagon. They own the media. We've got to liberate the United States from repression. Don't we know? We've got 2 million people in prison, for God's sake. Don't we know we execute more than one person a week in this country? What are we worth? What's right? We know what's right. We just don't stand up. So let's liberate the United States of America. Let's make it stand for decency everywhere. Let's move to end poverty and hunger and sickness and ignorance. Let's have jobs for everybody, everywhere. Let's work productively. Let's reach out in friendship all over the world. No more war. 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 We have to persevere every day of our lives for the foreseeable future. When this crisis is over, there'll be another and another. When you watch Vietnam, you realize there'll be another and another. We have to persevere to the end. And we have to follow the advice of a full-blooded Zapotec Indian who became the president of Mexico, Benito Juarez. A respect for the rights of others is peace. Let's respect the rights of everyone on this earth and reach out in friendship and love. Thank you.
Former U.S. Attorney General Ramsey Clark speaking at an anti-war rally held 10 days after President Bush signed the bill authorizing him to do the war on Iraq in March of 2003 is when it ended up happening. This rally took place October 26th, 2002 in Washington, D.C.
Rumsfeld, if you want to know what a patriot looks like, look at Ramsey Clark. That's a patriot.
This is our coverage of the events leading up to February 15th, 2003, which we're celebrating the largest protest in the history of humanity.
Children and you know, we've all kind of grown up with Sesame Street. Let me see your hands. All right. And you know, in Sesame Street, every day they have an alphabet, okay? Now, today the alphabet is C. And when I point out to you, you say C, okay? Now, I'm going to point to you and everybody say C. The C stands for character. C. The C stands for commitment. C. The C stands for courage. C. The C stands for Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney.
I cannot come here to this place at this time with all of you without first saying thank you, Paul Wellstone, for your wonderful example of true warrior patriotism, fighting for health care, fighting for our children, fighting for education, fighting against discrimination, and fighting against war. And thank you, all of you, for being here today. We know that when good men do nothing, evil triumphs. That's why we're here today, so that it can be never said that we, the good people of the United States of America, did nothing in the face of evil. And sadly, even our own country is not the same as it used to be. The good old days are gone, but the bad old boys remain. And dangerous changes are taking place daily. Even after a jury found that the FBI went too far against Judy Berry and Darrell Cherney, their families still don't have justice. The USA Patriot Act and the Secret Evidence Act erode our constitutional rights. Hard-earned savings of generations of Americans are being spent on the military and intelligence communities, while poverty and homelessness affect millions in every city in America. And now this administration wants to take us to war against Iraq. Yet all across our country and those of our allies, veterans of the last war against Iraq still suffer the health effects of Gulf War syndrome. Our Vietnam-era veterans still suffer from exposure from Agent Orange, while a new generation of veterans are reeling from depleted uranium, and they have not been taken care of. Sadly, 25% of all of the homeless men and women who sleep on our streets every night are our veterans to whom we've already broken our promise. How many more veterans does George W. Bush want to create, to whom we'll yet again break our promise? Mr. President, please look at the veterans who are sleeping on the streets right across from your window in the White House. Mr. President, please take a look. Our government can monitor our cell phones, the keystrokes on our computer keyboards, the books we read at the library, but they can't give a warm meal and shelter to the veterans who have served our country and who are now in need. In the last year alone, the Navy in one port was able to load 20 million pounds of ammunition to support Operation Enduring Freedom. Something is terribly, terribly wrong. And what about the young men and women who now find themselves on the front lines, deployed in faraway places like Oman, Djibouti, Bahrain, Philippines, Uzbekistan, Colombia, Macedonia, Peru, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Korea, Japan, Bosnia, Saudi Arabia, Georgia, Tajikistan, Burundi, Australia, Nigeria, 37 European countries, 12 former Soviet Union countries, 15 Asian and the Pacific countries, 21 North African and Southeast Asia countries, 27 African countries, 29 Western Hemisphere countries. George Bush signed an executive order waiving the administration's obligation to pay them their high deployment overtime pay. If he would do this to our troops when we need them most, what will he do to us? We only need Remember Florida to answer that question. And let us remember, it's easy to talk about war if you've never been to war. George Bush, Dick Cheney, Richard Pearl, Paul Wolfowitz, Rush Limbaugh, where were you when your country needed you? We slid into the Vietnam War with the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, and it turned out not to be true. Our strength and courage is being tested right now. We can stand back and do nothing, or we can protect our republic from abuse. We are gathered here today representing every slice of America. And despite all of our differences, we are here today with one desire: to return America to her true ideals. Don't be fooled by what they may say about you. You are the true patriots. Our first President George spoke about you. He spoke about what happens to true patriots. He warned us to beware the empty, bellicose flag waving of those who hold themselves out to be patriots. He warned us against false patriotism. He cautioned that the true patriot, the one who most loves his country, will become suspect and odious and will watch while the false patriots usurp the applause of the people. But the true patriots will know that our country's founding interests are being surrendered. That first President George was George Washington in 1796. We've known true patriots in our day, like JFK, RFK, and MLK. But you too are patriots, and today you're standing up for what is right and good about our country. Against today's backdrop of Washington, D.C., the most powerful capital on the planet, I dream of the day when the power of love replaces the power of might. That will be the day when our world will know the blessings of peace and our republic will once again be in the hands of the American people. Thank you.
Cynthia McKinney speaking at an anti-war rally outside the White House, October 26th, 2002. Hundreds of thousands attended. It was 10 days to the day after George Bush signed the legislation passed by Congress a few days earlier, authorizing him to take the country to war on Iraq.
A fighter for children in the United States, a fighter for
We are
peace
commemorating
and for self-determination.
February 15th, 2003, when the largest rally in the history of humanity took place, and it was targeting that same war.
Elias Rashmawi.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today is a glorious day. It is a glorious day because the American people have wedged themselves, linked themselves with the Arab people. And to you, I come to you with the greetings of the people of Basra and Baghdad, the greetings of the camps of Palestine, the people who look to you to stop the bombs that have been coming to them, killing them. You today are making the history. You are entering history in its widest gates. Today is a glorious day for the world as the United States stands and says no to war, justice for all, no to war, justice for all. Glory is made by those who take courageous steps when it counts the most. Glory is made by Cynthia McKinney, by Martin and Malcolm, by Medgar, by Rosa. Glory is made by you, by our people in Palestine, by the people in Jenin, in the camps as they watch the bullets coming to pierce their hearts, yet they reach out to you to build the bridges of peace, the bridges of justice. Glory is made by the people of Iraq who have given 1.5 million of their kids, of their mothers. Glory is made by our grandfathers who have come today with canes, by our mothers who are pushing strollers, standing next to you, sister to sister, brother to brother, father to father, son to son, daughter to daughter, saying,
No, we will not wage war on the Arab people. No, we will not kill the Arab people. We come to you to tell you that we are unashamed of our color. We are unashamed of our accents. We are unashamed of our dress. We are unashamed because we know that across all divides, all religious divides, all color divides, national divides, language divides, we will link arms, stand shoulder to shoulder to stop the war on the Palestinian people, the war on the Iraqi people, the war on the people of the world. We come to you. And as I close, so that we can march to the White House to send it wide and loud and clear, we come to you simple. We come to you very simple, with peace, with salam, and we tell you that we want to be your brothers and sisters. We do not want to see you soldiers pointing weapons against us. We do not want to see you in F-16s. We do not want to see you in tanks. We do not want to see you rendering support to the state of Israel as it displaces us. We come to you and we reach out with pride and we tell you that the proud Arab people, the proud Arab American people are not a fifth column. We are not a Trojan horse. We are not conspirators against you. We are part and parcel of this community. We are you and you are us. In the name of our children as they wither away with cholera, in the name of our children who are rendered homeless, in the name of our mothers as they watch our babies die away from hunger and disease in Iraq, and our babies with pierced hearts in Palestine. In their name, I salute you and I say, together we will make peace a reality. For after all, the people united will never be defeated. 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 Salam to you all.
Our strength is in our solidarity. And in the Answer Coalition, we value so much the relationship that has been built and forged with the Muslim community, and none more so than with Mahdi Bray, who I've had the enormous pleasure of working with, the executive director of the Mosque Freedom Foundation.
Thank you. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, I bring you greetings of peace from America's largest grassroots organization, the Muslim American Society, and its Freedom Foundation component. Assalamu alaikum! Brothers and sisters, as we stand here today, we look over at the Vietnam Memorial and we remember very, very well. And we say to this administration that we're not going to let you take us back. You know, Dr. King said that there comes a time in everyone's life when silence is betrayal. We will not be silent. We will not allow this war to continue in Iraq. We will not be silent. This is not only an issue of geopolitical significance, It is an issue of moral and religious significance. And we want to say to the Bush administration that from the religious community, you have no authority. You have no authority. Where is this popular deception that for some reason the people are with the administration on this issue? I checked with the National Council of Churches and they said no. I checked with the Catholic bishops and they said no. I checked with the American Friends Society and they said no. I checked with the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church and they said no. I checked with Reverend Graylin Hagler and the Plymouth Community Church, and I checked with him and he said that throughout the black church they're saying no. I checked with many in the Jewish community, Rabbi Lerner, and they're saying no. I checked with the Sikh community and they're saying no. And so you know something? The people of God are saying no, and George Bush, your arms are too short to box with God. Let me say this. Some people say, oh, Matty Bray, you better be careful. Some of our so-called Muslim leaders who are still playing footsie with the administration, let me be very, very plain. Let me make it set it out right very clearly for you today. I don't care if I don't get invited to the White House. Let me say to you that I don't want to go to the White House if we're going to drop bombs on people's houses in Iraq. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And let me say to you, a war, yeah, we need a war, but we don't need a war in Iraq. We need a war on poverty. We need a war on health care. We need a war so people can be fully employed in this country. We need a war so we can have a living wage for the people. We need a war to help the sick, the disabled, and the aged. We need a war against the criminal justice system, a system that ass crime for them got so the rich get bailed and celled and the poor get jailed in hell. We need war on that. So let me just say very clearly in conclusion that you talk about a regime change, George Bush, but let me tell you, we want a regime change on Pennsylvania Avenue. That's what we want, a regime change. So I said to you, I didn't come here as a doom merchant. I didn't come here with doom and gloom. I'm very optimistic. You know why? Because I read the Constitution this morning, and it didn't say, we, George Bush. It said, we, the people. We, the people. And we, the people, we will win. We, the people, we will stop this war. We, the people, will move this nation from the valleys of destruction and put them on the mountaintop of justice, where they can have a clear vision, where they will say, I can see clearly now. The rain has gone. All of the dark clouds have disappeared. I can see clearly now. It's going to be a bright, 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 sunny day. Thank you, buddy.
Many of you who are out here today are out here as you've been out time and time again, fighting for the truth and fighting for democracy and fighting for what you believe in. And many of you who are out here today are out in the streets for the first time as political activists because you have been compelled to action. And we have heard from people all around the country who have come out for the first time to speak their minds and stand shoulder to shoulder. And everyone here today is making the difference. Our next speaker is a man who has been a fighter, an activist, unabated his entire life, starting as a teenager, fighting against an illegal war in Vietnam, fighting for workers, fighting for people, fighting for human needs, fighting for a just society. He's co-director of the International Action Center and a member of the steering committee of the Answer Coalition. Please welcome Brian Becker.
Sisters and brothers, are you ready to march to the White House? Let George Bush, the Congress, the real constituents on Wall Street recognize that they will never, ever get away with this war of aggression without a militant mass opposition like the one that was built in Vietnam. Can we do it? You know, it's very important that we know exactly what we're going to do, not just later today, but tomorrow and in the days after. And I want to share with you the strategy that's involved in building this anti-war demonstration and this movement. It's based on a very simple premise. George Bush and Cheney, they order the wars, but they don't fight the wars. They need the people to shed their blood and spend their money and provide the labor without which there can be no war. And George Bush, you should know we intend to take the blood and the labor and the money of the people away from the war machine and use it to meet people's needs. That's how we stop Vietnam. It's in the streets. It's the people who can stop the war makers. Can we do it? Can we do it? Now let's be very specific. They say that the elected officials voted for war, but did you get a chance to vote? Did they ask the people what we thought? No, it's democracy for the rich, of, by, and for the rich. And we say that is completely unacceptable. What about the people? In the next days and weeks, tens of millions of people will begin a grassroots people's anti-war referendum. We will collect millions of signatures that says, Congress did not represent me when it voted illegally to carry out a war against our brothers and sisters in Iraq. They didn't vote for me. They maybe voted for Enron, for Citibank, for ExxonMobil, for Grumman, but they didn't vote for me. If you want to join the people's anti-war referendum, we want people to collect signatures in every city, every town, every high school, every workplace. We want millions to go to this website, www.votenowar.org, and tell the Congress and all the world they didn't vote for me when they voted to carry out a war against the people of Iraq. www.votenowar.org. If you're at home, go now and register. Let the powers that be know that the people will fight back. They'll fight back in the referendum, and we'll fight back in the streets, just as we've always done. Brothers and sisters, look to the people right to your left and right to your right. Turn to your neighbor and look at that person right now. Look at the people right next to you. Don't look at the stage. Look at the person standing next to you and make a solemn pledge that when we go home, We will build a movement that makes sure that no government official, whether it's Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, Wolfowitz, Powell, Rice, can go anywhere in this country without being 100% guaranteed that they will be met by an angry, angry protest. We won't fight this war. Stop the war before it starts. Thank you.
Brian Becker from the International Action Center and the Answer Coalition. Okay, we're going to do it, sisters, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. But you know something? We're over, let me just say something to you right quick. We're over 150,000 people. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. But we're going to be organized, we're going to be disciplined, and we're going to do it, and we've only got a few more minutes, so bear with us. We're definitely going to march, and we're going to come back. We've got another rally going on. We've got Imam Musa, we got Samuel Elian, we've got people speaking from all the various different organizations, so we got a full day for you. So be patient with us. Please be patient with us. God is not through with us yet. All right. Now, brothers and sisters, let me just say this to you very quickly. You know something? There's an old saying that truth crushed to the earth still rises. And you know that there needs to be champions, people who are willing not to compromise, people who are willing to speak truth to power. We have a man like that. He is here. He came from New York to be with us. He definitely will speak truth to power. Please give a warm, thunderous rounds of applause for Reverend Al Sharpton!
We're going to leave that here. We'll let him speak.
Thank you. We are here today because this president has put the interest of big business over the interests of human life. He has said that he needs the power to act in a unilateral way, to go into Iraq because there is imminent danger for citizens of the United States. He didn't ask for authority to go to Florida to see his brother who had undermined democracy, which was imminent danger for those that believe in the democratic principles of the United States. He didn't ask for unilateral power to deal with the problems of public education, to deal with public health care, to deal with the problems of our seniors that can't afford prescription drugs. He is bent on having a war over oil, while there is imminent danger for Americans right at home that George Bush ignores. So we come to tell you, you will not declare this wicked war in our names. It would have been good for you to be here, George, so you could see what America really looks like. Because if you looked out over these tens of thousands, we come from different races, we come from different religions, we come from different parts of the country, but we are the real America. We are the patriots that believe that America should heal the world and not bring the world to nuclear war over the interests of those business tycoons who put you in the White House. We may not agree on every issue, but we agree that it is time to challenge you. There may have been some that folded in the Senate, but there are those of us that will not bend, that will not buckle, that will not bow, and that will not in any way defer to a war machine built for profits at the expense of people. If you really want to make allies around the world, there are 1.1 billion people that need fresh water. Why aren't we getting engineers and scientists to get fresh water to people around the world?
He didn't say anything when Obama bombed the Libyan water supply, the great man-made river.
That need sanitation. Why aren't we sending sanitation engineers around the world? The world does not want our weapons. They want us to help heal and bring the world closer to one world that is built on human rights and human dignity. They say that it's us against them. But who is us? And who is them? And why do we keep running foreign policies based on boogeyman theories? First, Mr. Bush, you said the night of September 11th, one of the most despicable nights in human history. You said we got to go get bin Laden. Now you say we got to go get Hussein. When I was a child, they used to tell kids, watch out for the boogeyman. And what you are doing to America is playing boogeyman with us. Don't worry about prescription drugs. The boogeyman is coming. Don't worry about unemployment. The boogeyman is coming. Don't worry about education. The boogeyman is coming. We are not children. We're grown, and we're not running from no boogeyman. We are concerned about defense, but we are concerned about proper foreign policy. To go to the UN and just about tell them it's my way or the highway. To stand up there and admonish them without even paying your fees is not how America needs to be seen to the rest of the world, not in our name. We want the world to know that Americans represent peace, that Americans represent rational thinking, that Americans represent those that want to heal and develop and uplift and educate. We are not a nation of bullies. We are not cowboys looking to conquer. We are thinkers looking to create. And when the cowboys go forth, they won't go forth in our names. So as we prepare to march now, why do we march? Because marching is how women got the right to vote. Why do we march? Because marching is how blacks and Latinos got the right to vote. Why do we march? It took us from the back of the bus to the front of government. Why do we march? It took Lyndon Johnson out of Vietnam and sent him back to Texas, where we gonna send George Bush. If we had not marched, Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice would have had to sit in a segregated motel in Washington. Don't tell us how proud you are of them. They are a result of marching. They're not a result of no Texas oil deal. So as we prepare now, Mr. Bush, you said that you were concerned about your father and his legacy. Well, we're concerned about our fathers too. And we're concerned about our mothers too. So when you see us marching, we know you're George W.'s son. But look outside, Mr. President. These are Martin Luther King's children. These are Allied Lowenstein's children. These are Benjamin Spock's children. We are the brothers and sisters of Paul Wellstone. We got family too. We gonna march. We gonna march. We gonna march. Not in our name. chains, not in our name, 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 not in our name.
We got all the warriors up here. Who wants to march? Wave your sign. Wave your sign. We're going to march in a few minutes. We got a few more speakers. You know Ben and Jerry's ice cream. How many eat Ben and Jerry? Well, Ben Cohen put an ad in the newspaper. Some of you saw it. We got him coming up in a second. But I want to tell you something, sisters and brothers. There's a reason to be patient and to take our time today, because we're occupying the Capitol. We're occupying Washington, D.C. And everybody's looking at us. And Bush wants to occupy Iraq. And you know, maybe it's not a bad thing that we plant the idea in his mind that if he tries to occupy Iraq or any other country, you know, we can occupy Washington. Washington is ours today. But maybe, who knows, we might have to stay here overnight. Park out in front of the White House. Ready to do what we need to do. How many people are familiar with the name Mumia Abu-Jamal? Raise your hand. Say it, Mumia Abu-Jamal. Brother Mumia took the time to tape a message from his cell on death row to send to us. We're working on it. We're having some technical difficulties. If we can fix it, we'll bring it to you in the afternoon rally. But I just wanted you to know that Mumia is here with you. And I think it would be nice if you let him know that you're with him. So what do we need to say? Free Mumia? Free Mumia? Free Mumia! Free Mumia! Free Mumia! Free Mumia! Now, a sister got pulled out of a session of Congress, a hearing of Congress a few weeks ago, where they were having one of their BS so-called war hearings, where Rumsfeld was testifying. A sister by the name of Medea Benjamin, and she's the director of Global Exchange. So join me in welcoming Medea Benjamin.
Woo! You're looking beautiful out there. Raise your hand if you're a student. Woo! Raise your hand if you're a parent. Woo! Raise your hand if you're a grandparent. Whoa! One right here. Just think of what's happening right now. We have a president that is sending the ships, sending the war machines, sending the bombs, sending the troops. And look what we have growing here at home. A mass, beautiful movement that's going to stop them from dropping those bombs. And we're part of a mass, beautiful global movement. On the streets in Italy, on the streets in France, on the streets in Australia, in Egypt, in Tony Blair's England. We are the majority of the world's people, and we are going to stop George Bush. And look what we're building in responses to Bush oil for war. We are building a movement for solar, for wind power, for public transportation, for bicycle power. And I want to talk to the women here. Raise your hand if you're an unreasonable woman. We have a new group called Unreasonable Women for Peace. And on November 11th, we are going to launch on Veterans Day in honor of the veterans, saying the best way to honor the veterans is to work for peace, we will launch a hunger strike in front of the White House. Every day, 7 days a week, we will be out there in front of George Bush. We need you with us. We need you unreasonable women to join us. We need to stop the testosterone poisoning of our globe. We need to stop the lethal combination of oil and testosterone. We, the women, have to come forward and say, while George Bush is saying to the world that the U.S. military is going to go anywhere it wants and change any regime it wants, we, the women, in a non-violent, grassroots, beautiful way, will step forward, and what do we say? Regime change begins at home. 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 Join us November 11th. Hunger strike in front of the White House. Power to the peaceful. We love you.
Thank you, thank you. Well, folks, we're almost ready for that time. Look, let me just say one thing, a little housekeeping things here. We've got plenty of literature tables out there. Please go out and visit the literature tables that we have out there. Also, we have an Iraqi Children Memorial for the Iraqi children. We want to thank the Muslim Student Association for erecting it. Please visit that. Please visit our various different tables. There's Mari Salakhan. He's got information about 9/11. Make sure you go and do that. Also, we want to write very quickly on the audio. We talked about Mamiya, and we have Leonard. You know, Leonard Petir is also there. We need to think about him as a political prisoner. Raise it up, yes, yes. All right, and we also have another political prisoner. His name is Imam Jamil Al-Amin, formerly known as H. Rap Brown. All right, okay, in fact, we've got a very quick tape. Can we play? I think it's 15 seconds. Are you queued up over there? Can we do it? Okay. We got a tape from Imam Jamil right from his cells right there in Alabama. Let's see if we can hear it.
And we're having trouble, technical problem with that. The playback is just not working. And it's a good time to do an ID. This is CPRmetro.org, Community Progressive Radio for the Metropolitan New York area and the world. And we're inside our commemoration of February 15th, 2003, when the largest rally in human history took place in 800 cities around the world, calling on the world to stop the U.S. invasion of Iraq that was pending. Right now we are at October 26, 2002, as we go through the timeline leading up to that event, a huge anti-war rally outside the White House. Hundreds of thousands of people who showed up 10 days after George Bush signed the legislation passed by both houses of Congress in October of 2002.
But nevertheless, not only is he an entrepreneur and he makes some delicious ice cream, but he's also an entrepreneur with a great sense of social consciousness in terms of doing the right thing with money. So we want you to give a big round of applause for Ben Cohen from Ben & Jerry Ice Cream, who now has an organization called The True Majority. Ben Cohen, big hand.
You know, the president's men have compared their war in Iraq to a new product. But this is a product that nobody wants. So they've timed it from a marketing point of view, and they've supported it with a multi-million-dollar PR blitz. But their product is a deadly distraction, bristling with nasty side effects and violating international law. Speaking as a business person, if I put this product out on the market, my shareholders would have my head. This is a war based on lies. The connection between Saddam and Al-Qaeda is a lie. The idea that Saddam is capable of attacking the U.S. is a lie. And a war of so-called surgical strikes is a lie. Many thousands of people, fathers and mothers, sons and daughters, will be killed in this war. Yet there is no imminent threat to the security of America that justifies sending our brave men and women in uniform off to die. And the idea that the people of Iraq, who have already been terrorized by the loss of 500,000 of their children due to U.S.-led sanctions, the idea that these mothers and fathers want to be liberated by being bombed by the United States is absurd. The Bush administration is engaged in the most extreme form of power politics that I've ever seen. What their actions are saying is that we are the biggest, baddest bully on the block, and therefore we can make and break the law as we see fit. We are told that we are to attack Iraq because Saddam Hussein has violated UN resolutions. But just to put it in perspective, let's look at the U.S. record. The U.S. has repeatedly violated and continues to violate the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. The U.S. pulled out of the ABM Treaty. The U.S. has refused to ratify the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. The U.S. has scuttled the Biological Weapons Treaty because we wouldn't agree to inspections. And we forced out the head of the Chemical Weapons Convention who was trying to bring Iraq into the fold. The last time UN weapons inspectors were in Iraq, the U.S. violated regulations by using them as spies. And now we have the Bush doctrine of preemptive war, which states that we can attack any country that we think might attack us, although I do not believe it gives that right to other countries. But enough about war and lost lives and the rule of law. I mean, let's talk about money. Because after all, I'm a businessman, and money's my game. I've got a chart here that gives you an idea of how our government has been spending our money. Now, this is a big crowd, but this is a big chart. So if you look at that first line up there, that's how much money the U.S. spends on children's health care, $40 billion. The next line is how much the U.S. spends on K-12 education, about $30 billion. The next line is how much we spend on higher education, about $15 billion. The next line is job training, $8 billion. The next line is affordable housing, $30 billion. The next line is environmental protection, $8 billion. And the next line, the one that they are pulling out right now, is how much the U.S. spends on the Pentagon budget. And that equals $355 billion every year. And it's on a ribbon because that line goes off the chart. That line goes off the stage. That line goes off into the crowd. Well, but that line does not include the $200 billion that war with Iraq and the ensuing occupation and nation building is expected to cost. Now, these are tough economic times for the U.S. America teeters on the brink of recession. Median household income is down. Poverty and unemployment are up. The huge surpluses of the last years have been frittered away on tax breaks. City, state, and school budgets across the country are in shock. Retirement and college savings have been decimated. And now the administration wants to add another $200 billion to that last line on the chart.
And Congress approved it.
$200 billion, that's a lot of money.
Including
What
majority
could we
of
buy with
Democrats
that
in the Senate.
if we didn't have this war? Well, for $55 billion, we could provide all of our public schools with state-of-the-art computer systems for all of our students. For $11 billion a year, we could reduce class size, kindergarten through third grade, to 15 kids per class. For $6 billion a year, we could provide health insurance for all those kids who don't have any today. For $2 billion a year, we could provide Head Start for the hundreds of thousands of eligible kids who can't get into the program. For another $2 billion a year, we could double funding for clean and renewable energy. And you know, there are 30,000 children a day around the world who are dying from hunger. For $13 billion a year, we could feed all of them. And there are 6,000 people a day dying from AIDS in Africa. For $10 billion a year, we could curb the disease. And for $1 billion a year, we could provide complete public financing of all federal elections, allowing us to really, totally, and absolutely get money out of politics for $1 billion a year. All of those things I just reeled off add up to $100 billion. This war is going to cost $200 billion. We have another $100 billion left over. The continued belligerence of our leaders saps our soul, saps our spirit, and saps our strength as a nation. Let us instead rededicate ourselves to helping our nation to match its actions with the spirit and soul of our people in goodness and justice and compassion and love. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And actually, according to costofwar.com, the war in Iraq has cost $800 billion.
We got 3 more short messages. It's important. How many of you are in unions? Raise your hand if you're in a union. Well, we got union people here who've been organizing against the war. And our next message is from a good union soldier from New York, one of the organizers of New York City Labor Against the War, also the president of the Association of Legal Aid Attorneys, Michael Letwin.
Brothers and sisters, it's great to be here with you today, and I'm going to be brief. And I am proud. Yeah, I knew you'd like that. I knew you'd like that. Because I want to march too. You all want to march? Yeah, me too. We've been waiting a long time to march. Not just today, but for weeks and months, and certainly for the last year. And I got to tell you that I'm proud to be here today, to be a UAW member, a member of the auto workers, to be a president of my local union of the auto workers. But I'm not speaking today on behalf of my union. I'm speaking today on behalf of trade unionists in New York City who began right after 9/11 to organize a group called New York City Labor Against the War. And as I stand here with you at the Vietnam Memorial, where so many working people in uniform died 30 and 35 years ago in an illegal, immoral war, I'm proud to say that there are trade unionists today, working people today, who are organizing to make sure, and began after 9/11 to make sure, that we would not end up in another war of terror on the part of this country against Afghanistan, against Iraq, or against any other country in the world. And since that time, the statement that we have circulated, called New York City Labor Against the War, have been signed by hundreds, and over 1,200, in fact, trade unionists, primarily in New York City, to send that message out. Now, we may have been a small anti-war labor minority in the days after 9/11, but as the Bush administration threatens war, not only in Iraq, but on Colombia, on the Philippines, on Iran, on North Korea, on just about everywhere in the world, we're not so alone anymore. And all of us here today, we're not so alone anymore. And so how many of you here are union members? Raise your hands and raise your banners if you're a union member, brothers and sisters. And that makes sense because not just individual trade unionists are beginning to become opposed to the war and make that clear, but in recent weeks alone, anti-war resolutions have been passed by unions across this country, including the Professional Staff Congress at the University of New York, the California Labor Federation, the Washington State Labor Congress, the San Francisco Labor Council, California Federation of Teachers, SEIU Wisconsin State Council, the West Coast Longshore, United Electrical Workers, the Central Labor Councils in Albany, Rochester, and Troy, New York, and SEIU Local 1199, the largest union in New York State. So working people are beginning to move on the issue of war because we have not only the deep need, but the unique power to end this war. We make this country work. We can stop the war in its tracks. And we can build an anti-war movement like that, which we see in Britain, where 400,000 people marched a couple of weeks ago, led by the trade unions. So we ask you finally to join us. If you're a union member, sign this statement. Create your own labor against the war in your union, in your city. Bring union resolutions and mobilize your members and resist Bush's war against labor and all of us at home. Thank you very much.
Okay, brothers and sisters.
We lost our connection for a minute, and we're waiting till it starts to stream again, and we'll continue the playback of the rally from October 16th, 2002, 10 days after President George Bush signed legislation passed by Congress October 10th and 11th, authorizing him to take war to the people of Iraq. Hundreds of thousands of people showed up 10 days after Bush signed, and we are back. We had a technical problem, and now we're going to go back to the rally.
Very quickly, let me just say one thing to you. We got another head count. It looks like we're over 200,000 people. All right. All right, all right, all right. Right now, brothers and sisters, I want to introduce a very courageous person. He's been working a long time. He is certainly no armchair activist. He's out there pushing every day for peace. He represents now Black Voices for Peace. Please recognize and give a great round of applause for Damu Smith.
Good afternoon, my sisters and brothers. I want to tell you about the real axis of evil. I'm going to name them right now. Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, Ashcroft, Condoleezza, Powell. They are the axis of evil. This is the most undemocratic, anti-worker, anti-poor, racist, pro-business, warmongering, elitist, repressive government we have ever had in these United States of America.
And that's saying something.
Let me just say this because the time is short. We are standing here at the Vietnam War Memorial, where 55,000 names are engraved in that granite. 55,000 young men and women who lost their lives in a wasted, criminal, racist war against the Vietnamese people. 1 million Vietnamese people plus died. And now Defense Secretary McNamara, who served during the Johnson administration, says it was all a mistake. We the people today say this: we the people are not going to allow you to make that mistake again. Never again, never again, never again, never again, no, never again. I want to end by saying this. This march is all right, but it means nothing if we don't go back and organize in the schools, in the temples, in the mosque, in the churches, in the daycare centers, in the rural areas, in the cities, organize women and Asians and black people and Latino people and Asian people and youth. Everybody has got to be with this tent. We gotta build this movement. And I want everybody to know, support this good work of International Answer. They're doing such a wonderful job. Give them a big round of applause. And I also want you to support the only radio station that's broadcasting this nationwide live, Pacifica Radio and WPFW 89.3 FM. Thank you very much. I love you.
Those were the good old days.
Damu Smith, yeah. Also, we want to thank, and we want to continue to thank, because this is being broadcast live all across the country and the world. We want to thank C-SPAN. A big hand for C-SPAN. Come on, folks. Big hand for C-SPAN.
That's right.
Hey, all right. Our final speaker, and also, let me just, before we bring our final speaker, let me just also say, no, this didn't happen by accident. This didn't happen by osmosis. People work very, very hard. I want to thank the Answer volunteers. Let's give them a big, big hand. I want to also thank the Muslim American Society and their volunteers. Okay, all right, and the Muslim Student Association, and all of the national Muslim organizations that help, and all of the labor organizations that help, and all the brothers and sisters who came out here and helped, all the educators, all the farmers, all the people in the hood. All right, we're from all over. You see, we have a consensus. We are the American people, and we say to you once again, George Bush, we are the majority, and we said, you can't have this war. You can't have it. We're not going to let you do it. We're not going to let you do it. Not in our name. Right now, please meet and greet our final speaker, and then we're going to step off. We're going to have a fantastic march, and after we march, we want you to come back here because we're still moving. We've got cultural enrichment programs for you. We've got speakers for you, so do come back. We're just going to pause for the cause. That's all. We're going to be right back. Okay, folks, right now, I want to introduce to you a brother from the Fellowship of Reconciliation up in New York, New York. There's some people from the fellowship. Let me hear your shout out. There you go. All right. Okay, good. From the Fellowship of Reconciliation and from the Muslim Peace Fellowship, he is indeed a very, very important person in the peace movement. Please greet Ibrahim Rimi.
In the name of God, the beneficent, the merciful, we're getting ready to march and mobilize ourselves and say to the world that we will not tolerate injustice and war. But before we do, I wanted to say that the active, nonviolent peace movement is here, that we have been working in the United States and globally for more than 80 years to transform violence into revolutionary nonviolence, to transform militarism into peace,
and we're going to stop here. And the march that took place afterwards had hundreds of thousands of people. Some estimate 500,000, and then thousands and thousands, more than 100,000, came back for the subsequent rally. This was October 26th, 2002. That does it for part 3 of our memorialization, our memorial to and our remembrance of February 15th, 2003, the largest anti-war or any other kind of protest in human history, with people participating in 800 different cities We've been examining and still are examining the run-up to that action. This was an anti-war rally October 26, 2002 in Washington, D.C., 10 days after George Bush signed the legislation passed by Congress that gave him the authority to conduct war against Iraq. This is CPRmetro.org. Okay. And we have some little technical problem going on here. Let's try to solve that for a minute. Let's try this again. Here we go. I don't get it. We had a problem. And so we are instead going to go to this.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody's talking about bagging and tagging and swagging and magging, bagging and tagging and this is and that and it's a bit of this. All we are saying is give peace a chance. Don't say it. All we are saying is give peace a chance. Yeah. Come on. Everybody's talking about ministers, sinisters, barristers, and canisters, bishops and bishops and rabbis and Popeyes and bye-bye, bye-bye. All we are saying is give peace a chance. What do we say? Give peace a chance. All we are saying is give peace a chance. Give it a chance, baby. Give it a try. Let me tell you now. Everybody's talking about revolution, evolution, massive regulation, integration, meditation, United Nations, congratulations. All we are saying, keep talking, is give peace a chance. It's gonna better this one. All we are saying. Let's hit it to West Coast.
We'll be back with part 4 of our special in just a minute.